Max, I gotta say, I forgot how much fun it is to watch a physically dominant women's tennis player in like Bianca Andreescu. She's just an animal, and so much emotion and so much mental toughness. And I really forgot how much I enjoy watching her play because it's been 15 months since she's really been consistently hammering it out on the tennis circuit. So I guess I'll throw it to you to kind of kick us off and on some of the stuff you saw over the quarterfinals, over the semis, because she's into the final now at the Miami Open.
Come on, Bianca Andreescu going to the Miami Open finals, and she's shown us so many different things over this Miami Open tournament. I was kind of taking notes last night just to stay awake and stay focused because every time there was a commercial break, I had to just reset mentally and try and stay sharp. I knew what I was getting into starting this semi-final match when it was starting so late. I was like, there's no way Bianca doesn't go 3 sets. You're in it for the long haul if you start watching. And sure enough, that's what happened. It's really, to what you're saying, just the mental fortitude. She's never out of it, even when you think she might be. She finds a way, and she does it through different shots at different times and just pulls you into becoming this engrossed spectator who can't pull away even if it's 2 a.m. and you're dead tired and you've got to record a podcast the next day. You just must watch television is Bianca right now, and I'm so happy I've been watching. Let's maybe start with the quarterfinals and then we can talk the semis, which I think we were both going a little cross-eyed watching the Leafs and Bianca at the same time. I don't know what held your attention more.
Yeah, I think what I would try and do was I would watch Leafs and then I would mute them and put on the tennis anytime I saw a break in the action and or like a commercial break, and then I'd switch over to Bianca. But it was really hard to go back to the Leafs once they had grabbed kind of a 2-goal lead, and Bianca was in the midst of that second set, powering towards the third. Obviously, both of these matches over the last week have gone the distance, and really impressed with how she's grinded through because this is her first tournament where she's had to go back to back to back nights. Which is probably putting a lot of strain on her body, which hasn't been used to this kind of punishment in a while. I wanted to start off by just like going to one of the lines the commentator said during the quarterfinal where she makes every match feel like an event. And I thought that was just a great line because of the emotion. And you let off your part in the podcast. She screams, "Come on," every time she hits a big winner or wins a big point. And it's just so much fun to root for her. Both the matches, one of the big things that stood out to me is how physical it was. Uh, the women's game, obviously, like you're going to have longer rallies a lot of times just because there's not that same finishing power. But like, I don't know, Bianca and Tormo, and then I guess Makari or
Sakari.
Sakari last night, like they're hard hitters, man. And they were, they were attacking each other's second serves, a lot of breaks in that Tormo match. Like, I think the second set started with 7 consecutive breaks, and they just really pressuring each other to make sure that that serve was solid. And when they were hitting, they were putting everything into the ball, and you had to be right on every single shot. Otherwise, you're going to get sent going the other way.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like Tormo was playing a little looser as it got towards the end and kind of letting Bianca have the onus to dictate the rallies, which is one of the notes I had on this match. It really reminded me at times the rallies of Bianca's match against Xiao Su Wei, where she lost in the Australian Open second round, I believe, except a lot more dangerous from Tormo in that, like, if Bianca left a ball hanging too long with a bit of a lob, then the putaways were way more deadly and threatening. But I was really happy to see Bianca pull this one out when I started to feel like, man, these extended rallies where her opponent just will not make a mistake and Bianca has to find a game winner.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, she really doesn't like 2-set victories, I guess, because they just don't seem to happen very often. And I do have mixed feelings about that, wondering, is it great for her to be playing so much tennis after such a long layoff and getting back into the swing of things? Or is this the same thing that led to the injury in the first place and we're heading right back on those tracks? I do worry a little, but that quarterfinals match, fantastic.
Especially when you see her leaving her feet a couple times in that match, either stretching out, going the opposite way, or she had that one play where she volleyed the backhand into the net and fell over, and that was a tough one. She was not happy. She almost smashed her racket after that one. You could see she was in her head a little bit, and that stemmed from a time violation that was called in that second set, which was really, really bizarre. It was an interesting moment because you could tell she was really, really mad, but had to keep her composure. I think that she said something along the lines of like, that has never, ever happened to me in a match that I played, even if I've made a toss and didn't hit the ball on that first toss and the serve. She was like, I've never had that happen. And the ref just sat there in the chair and was like, I just call the rules, Bianca. It's just a funny little exchange, and definitely was in her head a little bit after that. But a couple games in, she got back in her rhythm serving. That probably contributed to some of the breaks both ways. But in the end, I guess like the shot I had to highlight specifically in that quarterfinals was the drop shot. Every time she pulled it out, it was beautiful. Like the touch is really, really grand. And every time she hits one of those, it's well timed, and often it's bouncing twice. Like her opponents won't even get a racket on it.
Yeah, what I like about the mental fortitude after that violation is that it never became an issue again. I remember watching early in this tournament, Felix was up against a guy, Herbert, I believe, from France, who got in his own head early on this, like bickering with the ref. Hey, you're starting the timer too early. And the ref, it's the same playbook all the umps have. I'm just following the rules. And he just every break in action was bickering with the ref over it, and then ultimately just lost his. It was a tight game until he had one too many bickers and just lost his focus, and that's when Felix took it. So nice to see Bianca not make that mistake. And yeah, the drop shot's beautiful. The most consistent issue I've seen with her throughout this tournament has been the finish after the drop shots sometimes, or on the smashes. Just you've seen her miss a lot of putaways close at the net. And I do feel like she's starting to get in her own head a little on them, like second guessing, okay, I need to make this in, I need to make this in. And when you start thinking about the shots, sometimes those are the ones that miss the most consistently. So I guess I can segue into the semifinal match, which, like I said, I was taking crazy notes on just to try and stay focused, stay in it at 1 a.m. But it was a really close, tight game. All so much respect and credit to her opponent, Sakari, who had just come off blowing out Naomi Osaka, who, for my money, is the best women's player in the world right now, snapping a 23 match winning streak of hers. And this, to me, it was a physical battle in the sense that Bianca had to stay in it, but the clear advantage lay with Sakari. This girl was so fast, so explosive, and so strong. You could just see her frame was so wiry. Like, you don't see a lot of tennis players that are that like defined muscle tone. And I thought maybe it cost her a little in the shot. Like, she couldn't stay as strong on the shots. She had to take breaks throughout the match and like let up a little. But when she was hitting hard, it was such a tough puzzle to crack because she could stand 5 feet behind the baseline, returning Bianca's best ground strokes and almost threaten with her defense, like, hey, I'm right in this rally. If you let up for a second, I'm going to take the onus back and press you. So Bianca had to deal with that. This girl was so fast that I think it really held Bianca back on the drop shots. She was taking them way less. And then when she did take them, she had quite a few that fell like a foot short or so, like not inches misses, but big ones, just because she knew if I don't play this drop shot perfectly, this girl's going to get it and probably get the point. So against that physical threat and with one of her key weapons taken away, she had to find a different way to win. And she had some different things. When Sakari wasn't on top of her service game, because there were games she just killed and was getting like aces on second serves and just giving Bianca no chance when she put the first serve in. But then there were games where she wasn't quite in her rhythm as much, and Bianca really took advantage well, um, aggressively returning the second serves and getting, I think, in Sakari's head on those second serves a little too. But man, every time, twice, I thought Bianca had the momentum in the first set and the second set. Like she got a break, she pulled away, and Sakari just clawed her way right back in. Like you see often in tennis, that momentum builds, and no, Sakari just would like force her own break on Bianca's serve and then like return to serving excellence. And the biggest run of momentum throughout the match was for Sakari in the second set after she reversed some, I think like a 4-1, 3-1 lead Bianca had, 3-1, and then won the set 6-3. But it's like you said, Bianca just battles. She's an animal and she doesn't give up. It was looking bad for her early in that third set. Sakari got a break. She was serving well, and the commentator said like it's going to take something special, and she almost made it look a little more pedestrian than like, wow, what an exhilarating perfect play. But it speaks to the mental fortitude. She just never gave up, made her shots, got back in there, and forced a tiebreak after I thought it was really over. She gave up a second break point by, it was one of those sequences where I think Bianca served really well. It looked like it was going to be the point, and Sakari just showed that fantastic speed to just get the ball in, but she got it pretty shallow. Bianca had the chance to put away a volley, and I don't think she was expecting the return to come in, so a little slower on her reaction than normal probably, but just flubbed the volley at the net and then double faulted to give up the second break. I thought it might be over, but she broke back flawlessly, serving really aggressively. And then I love she got right back in there with the volley. And I think my favorite moment of the match, she forced a drop shot, charged it where she knew where the response to the drop shot was coming before it was even played, aggressively cut it before it bounced and gave like a come on before the ball even hit the net. But then sure enough, it bounces right on the line and in. Forces a shootout, and she finally pulled away in the shootout. She built some momentum early. She had like a fantastic return, and then Sakari gifted her a put away, which really she made almost no unforced errors throughout the match till then. So I feel like the war of nerves and the mental fortitude of Bianca finally got to her a little. She might have choked a bit, playing a bit worse in that last tiebreak than she had throughout the match. But yeah, I think that was enough of a ramble from me.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with Bianca though, is at the age of 19, she had to go into a full house US Open final against the greatest women's tennis player that's ever lived and beat her, right? Like I don't know if there's a match that gets any bigger than that. And so when you're thinking about like these tough points or these like tough moments, she's already had like a pinnacle moment in anyone's like the greatest moment of anyone's like tennis career, and she had it so early on that it's like how can she feel any more pressure? So that I think is it's a good like point of relativity to compare to, because she's just if you've done that, you can build up that mental toughness at such a high level that everything else seems not as there's just not as great a pressure in those moments, and you definitely see that shine through when she's had to battle back from 40 love in certain sets and having to come up with big breaks of serve, and she's been able to do that, and hopefully she can carry this momentum into her next match. She's going up against the number one ranked player in the world, Ash Barty. It should be excellent tennis once again. Just hoping that her body can hold out, and if it does, I imagine this one will also go the distance. But my hopes aren't there. Obviously, I want her to do well, but I can just see this one being like a really taxing final against probably the highest class player she's had to play since coming back from the injury. So I could also see this one going pretty quickly against her. So just I think if she stays in the match, she's got a ton of potential to win it. It's just making sure it doesn't get away from her early, because then she's in a bunch of trouble.
Yeah, she just has that clutch gene, that factor when it really matters to find a way to scrounge up points. I feel like she's constantly making reads in the match, like putting away a couple shots to save in her back pocket for the moments that count. But first, you have to get to those moments that count. And it's going to be, she's shown us so many different looks throughout this Miami Open. It's going to be really interesting to see how she deals with the backhand slice of Ash Barty, which can really I caught a bit of Barty's match yesterday, and she did a really good job with that shot of just nullifying her opponent's offense, like throwing her off rhythm, hitting it a couple times, and then as soon as like a put away was there, taking it. So Bianca had a great backhand throughout the last game, and I thought, like I was saying, she pulled that backhand out, like forcing Sakari on it to take a couple of key points. So I'm more optimistic about this matchup going in after seeing Bianca's backhand in her last game. But she's gonna have to deal with some fantastic serving, that really tricky shot, and again going back to like the Xiaosu way and the quarterfinal matchup, she's gonna have, I think, a lot of those rallies where her opponent is just not killing the ball, but placing it difficultly and consistently. And Bianca has to deal with that and find a way to generate her own offense, which sometimes she will struggle with and start to give up some unforced errors. But Barty will also do that at times. So it should be fantastic. If it goes 3 sets, this would be such a great run for her. Hopefully, having today off really helps refresh the body.
Definitely. All right. Best of luck to Bianca. I think it's great timing that it'll be tomorrow night. There's no Leafs game tomorrow night, as the Leafs play tonight, and we'll get there shortly. But we will take a quick break